Hello everybody, so I hope you're ready for one of my most enthralling and exciting videos yet, because tonight I'm going to talk to you about plastic boxes. So sit back, relax and enjoy. So, why do I want to talk to you about plastic boxes? Well, because I basically use plastic storage boxes for fermenters, and they've featured in quite a few of my videos, and I've got lots of questions about it, and other people on BrewTube and through the YouTube videos have shown an interest in that, but I have been asked quite a lot of the same questions repeatedly. Things like, are they food safe? You know, how do they seal, etc, etc, etc. So I thought I'd do a quick video on this, basically to give me something that I can direct people towards when I get the same questions again. So not that I don't you know, want to help people out and answer their questions, but it can wear you down a bit when you're answering the same thing every time you post a video with one of these things in there. So let's just address a few of the questions that commonly come up about these boxes that I've been using. First of all, are they food safe? Yes, they are, but you need to check that if you're looking at potential boxes to use. So usually you will find a code on the bottom of the box, and you're looking for these little triangles with the arrows, which should have a number in there. And this one also has the little fork and glass logo, which is a bit of a clue, so that is a food safe plastic. In this case, you can see from the PP that the 5 stands for polypropylene, and that is a very common plastic that is used on storage boxes like this, but it's also the one that is used on a lot of fermenting buckets. So this is one of the Young's fermenting buckets, and I've just poured a load of sanitizing liquid down my leg. That was nice. And as you can see there, you've got the same logo and number 5 PP, so that's polypropylene bucket as well. There are other numbers that will obviously potentially come up in terms of the ones which are food safe. HDPE, or number 2, high density polyethylene. That is one that you will come across on things like the blue storage barrels. So if you can see on the bottom of there, you've got the number 2 and PEHD other way around on that one, so high density polyethylene. So a 2 or a 5 are good. Apparently a 4, which is low density polyethylene, is okay as well, but I haven't come across any buckets or storage boxes or anything that are made of that particular material. I think that one is the type that is more flexible, so it's used for kind of plastic films, bags and so on, and for sort of more flexible plastic stuff, so things like squeezy bottles and so on. I don't think that one's very common in terms of the sort of containers that we might be able to use. So number 2 and number 5 are probably the ones that you're looking for, which are both food safe and should be okay to use for your fermenting vessels. The ones to avoid are 1, 3, 6 and 7. I won't go into the details of why, because I don't really know what I'm talking about anyway, but basically those are the ones that you will see on the internet are advised for you to avoid. Although I am slightly confused about the first one, being on that list, because that is PET, or PET plastic, which I thought was used for a lot of plastic bottles, for drinks and stuff, and I believe that a lot of the the plastic beer bottles that you can buy are made of PET. So I'm not sure why on some websites that's given as one to avoid for food safe stuff, but apparently some people reckon that it can leach chemicals into stuff. So there you go. But again, I don't think you're likely to be using that for FVs unless maybe you're talking about the larger plastic bottles, so larger water bottles for a sort of small 1 gallon FV or something like that, potentially. So I'd say that one's a little bit of a grey area, personally. So the other question that I probably get asked the most is, do they have an airtight seal? And can you use airlocks with them? The answer for all the ones that I've been using is basically no. The lids usually fit on quite snugly. Some of them will have kind of locking handles that will allow you to clip the lid on, but they are not airtight. There is a gap in between there, so it's not airtight, but you don't have to have an airtight container to do fermentations. If you do a bit of research into open fermenting, you'll see that there's loads of beers around the world that are fermented using that method, and it's not necessarily a problem. Even having a completely open ferment, obviously it does make it potentially more open to things getting in, infection and stuff, but if we've got a lid on the FV, it's not really a fully open ferment, so you're still providing some protection. And what I do is usually seal the box by putting a wrap of cling film around the lid as well, or if the cling film's big enough, just putting a layer of cling film over the top underneath the lid, and that's going to give you a pretty decent seal to the box anyway. So next question, how much can you get into these things? So this one was sold as a 30 litre box. This was the one from B&M, and that is marked up, so you do have to obviously kind of do the markings yourself because they aren't provided with volume markings. So that was 15, 16, 18, 20, 22 litres up to there. So I think they were fibbing a little bit when they said this is a 30 litre container, and I think that you'll probably find that with quite a lot of the really cheap options, that they maybe don't give you the full volume that you're looking for. So I think this one right to the brim is probably at the most maybe 25, 26 litres, but you're not going to want to fill it all the way up there because obviously you're going to start to get yeast and krausen coming out through the top. You're pushing it with this one, even having it up to 20, 22 litres, to be honest. So this one I tend to use for sort of 19 litre batches or less, but that does actually bring up another advantage of using these, which I find, because of the greater surface area on the top, you don't tend to get the massive krausening that you might do in a narrower bucket type fermenter. So even with quite lively fermentations, the krausen isn't going to rise quite as high, so it's less likely to explode out of the box. But obviously in this case, if you fill it right up to there, that's a distinct possibility. This one over here, this is one of the boxes from the brand, really useful boxes. This one was sold as a 35 litre, and you can see the marking there is for 22 litres, so I think that is much more, sorry, it's not 35 litre, it's actually 33.5 litre, I've just read on the label down in the bottom corner. That one is, as far as I'm aware, actually a more truthful representation of the volume. So this is and this fits perfectly in the fridge. So this one I can pretty much get anything, probably I'd be happy to put up to maybe 26 litres, maybe more, 28 probably at a push into that, and still have plenty of room for krausen and so on. So yeah, that's what you can get. And obviously, you know, the key thing is just making sure that it actually fits into your fermenting fridge if you're using one, because that was the whole point for me. And other than that, yeah, there's loads of different volumes or sizes available. One of the other things people ask me about is how easy are they to move, and are the handles secure enough to lift them when they've got, you know, 20 plus kilos of beer in them. Depends on the boxes, so I would make sure that you try and find ones that have either got kind of reinforced handles in, so where you've got a bit of plastic moulding underneath the handle to kind of join it onto the main body, and also if they do have clips to secure onto the lid, that just helps to keep it a bit more rigid and easier to move as well. Again, in this case, you can see it's just quite a solid kind of moulding into the actual rim of the box itself. If the handles are flimsy and sticking out from the side of the box, I would try and avoid those because they are pretty likely to snap off. When you're moving them around, it is quite easy to kind of slosh the beer about, so you do have to be a little bit more careful compared to the kind of bucket ones where you've normally got a bit more space at the top. So it can be quite easy to slosh the beer over the side, but you just have to be careful moving them. Yeah, so I've not really found it to be a problem. A few people have mentioned in the past that if you crash cool them, so if you're chilling the beer down very cold, that the plastic can become more brittle. So that, again, that's something you just need to be careful of. They're more likely to, you know, crack or snap if you drop them or put them down too fast, especially when they're bearing a lot of weight, if they have been chilled right down. Heat wise, I think this one actually has some heat ranges on there. So yeah, it's got temperature, safe operating temperature range of -15 up to 80 degrees C. So you wouldn't want to be throwing in, I'm getting more sanitizing fluid over me here, so you wouldn't want to be using these to chuck freshly boiled wort straight into them. That will probably, I imagine, cause the plastic to start to melt and deform, but they're good for chilling it all the way down to crash cooling temperatures and below if you wanted to do that. So that is yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I'm going to do a quick list of kind of pros and cons as I see it for these, and that's it really. So yeah, I hope that's answered a few questions for those of you who may be interested in using these for yourself. Just go out and look for them, make sure they are food safe plastic, and as long as it measures up and fits into the fridge or FV or fermentation space you're using, you're good to go really. Okay, cheers.
I'm the dude. So that's what you call me, you know? That or his dudeness or Duder or, you know, El Duderino.